Most people know that clutter is a problem, but they may not know how to solve it. But what if I told you that clutter is not just annoying, but it's costing you your time, it's costing you monties, it's costing you your relationships, it's costing you so much, and you really need to get your peace of mind back. And I'm gonna show you how to do that in this video. So for me, I am someone who is extremely affected by my space. I feel like I say that in almost every video, but I'm just not someone who can have tunnel vision and my space is a mess, my space is cluttered. It's not representing me and I can just arrive at the life that God has for me. I'm just not someone like that. Like I really have to engineer my space to support the person who I'm becoming. And recently we had moved last year from Vegas, from the strip of Vegas to Georgia. And then I had our son, our second child. And then I spent 6 months breastfeeding. And I can't say survival mode. Survival mode, probably the first 2 months. That was really difficult. And then afterwards, it was just nonstop, it was a lot. I can't say I was in survival mode, but I definitely wasn't thriving. And once breastfeeding stopped and I was able to lift my head up and look around our home, and now we're a little bit more settled, and I realized, okay, our space isn't super cluttered because I'm going to tell you how to solve clutter. So we don't really have a super cluttered space, but it's not organized. And I realized that, okay, this is not serving our family. And I really have to pause on all my other projects and I have to focus on organizing our entire home because people have to understand that homemaking is not simply just buying pretty pillowcases, right? It's not just you're just home, just wearing an apron all day, but it is creating a home, intentionally creating a home that serves your family versus a home that you guys are just in, that you don't feel comfortable in, you're stressed out in, you feel anxious in. It is to create that home, that space that serves you and your family. So before we talk about how to declutter your home, let's first talk about what clutter is costing you in the first place. What is disorganization? And having a disorganized space, what is it costing you? And the first thing is time. I can't tell you how much time is wasted when you are searching for things that do not have a permanent home. Now, it's one thing if something has a permanent home and you know it's always in one space and you just find it there. For example, we hang our keys in the laundry room when we come into our apartment and it's right there. We always know where our keys are. They don't move. We never have to look for our keys because we always hang it as soon as we come into the house. So that's fine. But there's those little things that you're like, wait, hold on. I want to write a thank you card. Let me see. Let me look in these boxes. And you're looking everywhere. Or even something as simple as a pen, which I hate junk drawers. We have one right now. I hate it. And I hated how we had one in Vegas and I made sure I organized it. So in Vegas, we had a system. We don't have a system in this new space. So I have to get on top of that. But I don't like that. Just random stuff in a drawer. Like there's no organization. You don't even know what's in there. Why in the world is a sock in there? You know, just random stuff, right? I mean, a sock isn't in our junk drawer, but I've seen some people's junk drawers and it's literally everything. It's old phones, it's socks, it's everything that you can think of. And when you're rummaging through all those things to look for something as basic as a pen, it is just not conducive. You're wasting so much time, and time is precious. We don't need to be spending minutes looking for things, looking here, looking there. Where's a shoe? Where's a sock? Where's a pen? All these things that we did not create a permanent place for, or we know that they're in a general area like a closet, but they don't have a system that serves you well. Because that's the whole point of organization. Organization is not simply having pretty bins and trying to impress people. It is having a system that serves you and your family, that you can get to things quickly, that you can put your mind to other things, that you can spend your time instead of rummaging through things, feeling anxious, like, where is this? Where is that? You just get to go spend time with your family. Go get what you need and go spend time with your family, right? We don't have to be wasting our time rummaging through things. So number two, the second thing that disorganization is costing you is money. I cannot tell you how many times that, when I'm not organized or I know people are organized, it happens to me, it happens to a lot of people, that when you don't have a system, you waste a lot of things. You buy things on impulse because you're not sure if you have it or not because the thing that you're looking for doesn't have a permanent home. So let's say you don't know where your scissors are or your kitchen scissors. I don't know, like you you put them in the junk drawer, but someone took it and they didn't put it back because the junk drawer was not a permanent, it was a temporary holding place, but it's not a permanent holding place. So you go and buy another one. And what happens when you buy more of something and you bring it into your home? Most people, what they do, and this is how hoarding starts, right? This is how like some people who have like hoarding issues, this is how it starts because things come into your house, but they don't leave. And then you keep buying duplicates of things because now the junk and the clutter keeps piling up and piling up. And because again, everything doesn't have a permanent place, you keep looking for stuff. And instead of wasting that time, because again, you know you're wasting time looking for that, instead of dedicating 5, 10 minutes looking for something, you just buy a new one. Okay, well, what happens when you find the old one? Nothing. It just stays in your home. You have multiples of things. You're wasting money. Even when it comes to food, if you don't have a system, a proper system in your fridge and in your pantry, it's very common that people just waste food. The food is going to expire because you can't see it, which is why, again, I'm in the process of organizing our entire home because I don't like that. Now, personally, like in our home, we don't eat a lot of canned foods. Well, I don't buy a lot of canned foods. So that's not too bad. It's not too bad of an issue, but food does have a expiry date that you have to eat it in a certain amount of time. It doesn't really make sense to stock up on all these canned foods. And I see this is common in a lot of people's pantry. If you go in their pantry, you're going to find things that expired a year ago. You don't want that, right? You want to buy enough. But, and I, look, I'm saying all this and I understand that some people who have issues with clutter and disorganization more than likely have issues with hoarding. And it's not simply a material thing, it's also a psychological thing, which we could talk about it maybe in a different video about the psychological effects of hoarding and where it comes from and why you do hoard. But I think it's important that you're not buying things for a rainy day, that you buy things and you use it, right? That is a better investment of your money. You're buying it for a rainy day. The rainy day doesn't come. You don't eat that much, right? You and your family don't eat whatever it is that you bought that much. Or again, you're buying multiples of something that you don't need that much. Guys, we don't want to be over consumers. We want to buy enough for our family. We want to buy some, there's some things that you might need a stockpile of, like tissue paper, right? And paper towels. Of course, that makes sense. But then there's some things that we know that we're hoarding. Like, this is not a good use of our money because we haven't looked at it in a year. We haven't touched it. We don't eat it. It is not a good investment of our money. Even certain things that you might have, papers, or you're trying to save coupons. And you know what I'm saying? Like, we need to just let things go. We need to throw things away, give them away, donate them, and bless someone else. But we don't need to just be stockpiling everything in our home. The third thing that clutter is costing you is your mental load. Guys, did you know that there's a, I don't know what exactly the number is, but your brain can only make a certain number of decisions every single day. There's a limited number of decisions that your brain can make. And you're probably like, well, I don't make that many decisions. Yes, you do. You make tens of thousands of decisions, micro decisions every single day. But there's some decisions that are on autopilot, but then there's some decisions you have to actively make. So for example, brushing your teeth for most people is not a conscious decision, like, because you've done it so many times, you have a system of how you brush your teeth, you have a system of how you take a shower. Those things kind of come naturally. A lot of people, it's common that you can take a shower, brush your teeth, and think of something else because you're running on autopilot, right? So when you have so much clutter, every clutter or every space that's disorganized, every closet, every cupboard, every paper pile, just everything that is everywhere is like an open tab, and your brain registers it as unfinished business. And that is extremely overwhelming to be in a space that there is unfinished business everywhere. So you're operating at this very low level anxiety. And this was me. Growing up, my space was so cluttered and messy, and I would simply just try to distract myself by playing video games, watching YouTube videos, because I felt so overwhelmed and my space was not, it was not conductive to me being productive. So I always thought that I was just lazy. I thought that, like, you wouldn't believe it now, right? If you see how I move now, you wouldn't believe that I was so lazy when I was growing up. But it wasn't because I was naturally lazy, but it was because my space was overwhelming me. My space was creating anxiety. I had too much stuff and I did not have the skills to manage my space. So I could be more productive if I leave my room, right? If I'm with friends or if I'm somewhere else, but in my own space, I just could not get many things done simply because, again, you're operating at this low level of anxiety and this low level of overwhelm all the time. And that's not how you want your space to serve you, right? You want your space to give you rest. You want your space to refill you. You want your space to push you into the person that God has called you to be. So, that mental load is so real. And most people, because they're operating in that dysfunction for so long, it becomes like background noise because your brain has to focus on other things. And for some people, you really don't realize how messy and cluttered your space is until you go to a different space or you see someone else's space and you're like, wait a minute, hold on. Or you have guests who are coming over, and for some reason, now your brain can flip on and be like, wait, hold on, everything is everywhere. And that's when you start rushing and you start tidying because someone is coming over. But you don't want to do that simply because someone's coming over, which actually, let me go into the next thing because that is correlated. So, number four, it's costing you relationships. So, as I was just mentioning, when you have someone who's coming over, a lot of people who have disorganized homes, they feel a sense of shame. Oh, I don't want people to come over because this place is messy, or I have things everywhere, I have clutter, things are disorganized. And that costs you relationships. You could be fostering relationships by simply just inviting someone over, by hosting them, by showing a level of hospitality. But a lot of people don't do that because they're ashamed of their home. But you don't want to have a home that you're ashamed of. You want to have a home that you're proud of, which is why I mentioned that my husband, and well, not really my husband, it's really me because I'm the homemaker. I'm in the process of completely organizing our whole home because I see it as an investment. It's not something that I would just say that it's an investment. I think that making a home that serves our family is something of high priority. And that's why I'm doing it. But another way it affects your relationships is that you are just not, I don't know about y'all. Again, for me, I'm just not the nicest person when my space is jacked up. Okay. I am just overwhelmed. And because I'm overwhelmed and my emotions are on higher alert, because again, you're operating at that low level of anxiety, any little thing just now I have enough self-control. I don't snap at my husband. I don't be snapping at my kids, but I just feel angry, right? Any little thing, like you could just be chewing gum too loud and I'm just annoyed. I'm just upset because I am trying to manage, my mind is trying to manage all these open tabs. I'm overwhelmed. And because I'm overwhelmed, I can't show up as a homemaker as my best self. I can't show up as a mother and as a wife as my best self. So again, it's an investment, right? You want to make sure that your space supports your mental health and supports the person that you're becoming. Lastly, disorganization affects your identity. I hear so many people, they are just very fixed and they have such an external locus of control of, oh, I'm just messy. I'm just disorganized. I'm just lazy. People just accept life. And you guys know on this channel, we are dominion, like we are kingdom citizens. We take dominion of what God has given us. And if God has given you time to steward over, a space to steward over, a mind to steward over, a life, everything to steward over, then that's your job to take dominion. You're not a victim, right? You can engineer your life to support the person that God is calling you to be. But this really affects your identity because I believe that your space is a reflection of you. And having a more organized space is also a form of self respect. It's telling yourself that I deserve to be in a space that is clean and well maintained. I don't need to live in chaos. God has given me dominion. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. That is how you have to think, right? You have to take dominion of your space. So it affects your identity. You don't want to just be succumbing to your space. You want to be the one that will rule over that space. Hopefully that makes sense. Okay. Okay, so now solutions, because I'm not going to just leave you hanging. These are solutions that have helped me out and how I have been able to go from lazy and extremely disorganized to conquering my space, being more intentional, and having a better functioning home that serves me and my family. So the first thing is to own less. This is how I'm able to navigate through most spaces because I've moved around a lot, especially in my adulthood. But even in my adulthood, every space that I was in, I did have some organizational systems, even if it was just a room. Like even if I was staying in my parents' house and I had my childhood room, or I was subleasing and I had my own room, or I had a small one-bedroom apartment. Now, oh, then I lived in Vegas with my husband. We had a one-bedroom apartment on the strip. Now we have this apartment in Georgia. So every space that was, I know, right? There's a lot of places I lived. Every space that I had, I just knew, okay, if I'm not prioritizing organizational solutions just yet because I have to get settled. I get it. Organizational is an investment. I'm not going to say it just costs money because that undercuts its value. The value of organization is everything that I just mentioned. It's your peace of mind, it's your time, it's your money, and it pays for itself as time goes on to just be more organized and have better systems. But I understand that it may not be a priority immediately because you might have just moved to a place like me, or if you're like me, you might have just had a newborn and you might not be in a space that you can organize just yet. But before you are in that space, excuse me, I think it's important that you just have less things. This is one of the philosophies that I live by. Four quarters are better than 100 pennies. This is something that I had to learn in my 20s when I had to break off poverty and break off a poverty mindset because I realized that I was someone who, and I guess it was just a learned behavior, that I would just hold on to small, useless things instead of putting my focus on getting something that is of better quality, of better value, something that I love and I enjoy. I just started to repeat certain hoarding behaviors that I had seen. And, you just have to snap out of it. Like, why am I holding on to this? You have to start questioning your own thoughts. Why are you bringing this into your house? I have a rule that we do not bring things into our home that we do not love or enjoy. Because if you don't love, enjoy, or need it, excuse me, it's junk. Okay? It is junk. It is clutter. You already have these scissors, right? You don't need to buy another one. If you're going to buy a pair of scissors, at least make it something that's good quality that you enjoy. Hello? Right? Like, if you're going to have an office, just get some nice gold scissors. And because you invested more money into that, you're going to value it more versus buying 10 other scissors. I'm just giving an example that you don't care for and it's more expensive because you bought 10 of it. You see, buy something of quality and just keep that one thing, but just have less things. You don't have to necessarily be a minimalist, but you do have to create limits. So if your space can only hold a certain amount of things, do not exceed that space. Have less things. Every space is not supposed to be filled. Give your space, give it some breathing room, have some negative space. Let your eyes rest. So it's not just stuff everywhere. So even if everything is not fully organized, because you have less things, it still gives you a sense of order and control in that environment versus buying too many things and then you get overwhelmed because you have to sort through everything eventually. Okay, number two. I've been harping on this entire video, but that is to give everything a home. Everything needs to have a permanent home, which is what I am in the process of currently doing. I'm not talking about a relative home. I'm not talking about a temporary home. Give everything a permanent home. Start to group things as far as category. Start to put things together that make sense. If you have a junk drawer, why is there a sock there? Hello? Why is there a sock there? Does it belong there? It does not. So take it out and put it where it belongs, right? And this is going to take some time, which is why I said that this is an investment, not just financial investment to organize, but it's also there's a time and a mental investment to organize. But the good thing is that once you do have a system and you do have a permanent place for everything, everything is just like autopilot. You don't have to think about it. You don't have to now use that precious cognitive load and now be thinking, where does this go? Where does this go? For me, I hate that. I hate that because then you put something down because it doesn't have a permanent place and then it becomes clutter and then you just keep moving it around because it doesn't have a permanent place. So that's something I can recommend. And then the last thing is to simply just build systems, like I just mentioned. So build systems, have some type of flow, right? When it comes to your home and your home management, have a day that you clean certain things, have a day that you organize, have a system, and how does it operate, right? Make sure that you start to think of those things so that, like I said, you don't have to think so hard of where does this go? What am I doing with this? And hopefully all of that will help you and it gives you some perspective. So if you enjoy videos like this, make sure that you do subscribe because we're trying to get our subscriber count up. I'm new to YouTube. I hope that you like videos like this. Let me know of other ideas that you have for videos that you may want me to do in the future. And this is Jumoke Win, and I'll see you later. Bye.